Greetings, friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. The publication Politico claims that Donald Trump was able to persuade Viktor Orbán to stop blocking the process of negotiations with Ukraine on joining the European Union. As is known, it is currently the Hungarian veto that is preventing the start of such a negotiation process. And the European Union found itself facing a very difficult and challenging situation. This situation concerns not only Ukraine but also the Republic of Moldova. As is known, both countries are moving through the negotiation process together. And if negotiations on Ukraine and Moldova joining the European Union are not started now, it could affect the chances of the party of Moldovan President Maia Sandu in the upcoming parliamentary elections in that country. But if negotiations are started without Ukraine, thus separating Kyiv and Chisinau in the process of European integration, it would mean acknowledging that Ukraine is significantly lagging behind the Republic of Moldova in the negotiation process and is ending up among the so-called unpromising candidates for European Union membership. And this is despite the fact that not long ago Brussels was even discussing the issue of so-called accelerated accession of Ukraine to the European Union. Viktor Orbán blocked the start of negotiations primarily from a political standpoint. It is critically important to fully understand that these complex negotiations are not the same as actual immediate accession. They are, in fact, a rather lengthy and involved process of detailed consultations regarding precisely how Ukraine and the European Union will meticulously synchronize their respective legislative frameworks and how the diverse interests of both the European Union and Ukraine will be carefully and comprehensively aligned by the time Ukraine ultimately becomes a full and official member of the European Union. And for many European countries that joined the European Union in the preceding years, this comprehensive and intricate process of accession took quite a considerably long period of time to complete, especially when it came to addressing and reconciling national economic interests and deeply rooted concerns that the act of joining the European Union could potentially create significant and widespread problems for entire vital sectors of their respective economies, leading to various challenges and adjustments. For example, this was the case with Poland, which for a long time defended the interests of its own agricultural producers, significantly slowing down the process of Poland's accession to the European Union. However, as a result, this truly allowed Polish agriculture to remain competitive. And, by the way, it is precisely the competitiveness of Polish agriculture, achieved with the help of the European Union, that explains why Polish farmers are so irritated by the appearance of Ukrainian competitors on the European market. Since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, Ukrainian producers have essentially been able to operate in the European market as if they were representatives of an EU member state. Although Ukraine has not yet formally joined this significant European political and economic union, it is important to consider the broader implications. Therefore, I would not definitively say that Viktor Orbán's recent decision to withdraw his long-standing veto on the crucial negotiations for Ukraine's eventual accession to the European Union automatically signifies or guarantees immediate and full membership. And Viktor Orbán understands this perfectly well too. The essence of the Hungarian Prime Minister's veto was, above all, rooted in his own domestic political interests. They are connected to the fact that Orbán is currently building his party's election campaign, which for the first time in many years, if not decades, risks losing its majority in parliament, on anti-Ukrainian rhetoric and on reminding voters that he is the Prime Minister of peace, while his competitors could lead Hungary into war. And in this situation, statements that Ukraine's admission to the European Union would mean war between European countries, including Hungary and the Russian Federation, quite objectively fit into the overall narrative of this election campaign. Although officially, as we know, Moscow has never linked Ukraine's European integration to it posing any kind of threat to Russia's national security. Right now, NATO is the Kremlin's main focus. Although it's worth recalling that in 2013, Ukraine's signing of the association agreement with the European Union also caused irritation in the Russian capital. But not military threats, which only truly emerged and became a significant concern after the dramatic and sudden collapse of Viktor Yanukovych's puppet regime. However, as we can see, the European Union does not currently have the luxury of waiting for Orbán to finish his election campaign. And, as I have already mentioned, this is connected not only with Ukraine, but also with the Republic of Moldova and with the reluctance to separate the two countries in the process of their European integration. The only question that remains is, what will truly be more important for Viktor Orbán right now? running an election campaign with an anti-Ukrainian undertone, or worsening relations with Donald Trump. Since the American president believes that Ukraine's European integration can be part of the efforts he's trying to make to end the Russian-Ukrainian war, if you will, as part of security guarantees where, in fact, no one is guaranteeing anything. Because we understand perfectly well that Ukraine's accession to the European Union, if it is not accompanied by Euro-Atlantic integration of the country and reliable military security guarantees, primarily from the United States and other nuclear powers, by no means promises that Russia's war against Ukraine will not flare up again. And here, by the way, Viktor Orbán might actually be right, because this would be the first such major war waged by Russia on the territory of a European Union member state. And the other EU members would only be able to throw up their hands helplessly and remind everyone that they would gladly help their partner. But the thing is, Ukraine is not in NATO, and unfortunately the European Union does not have similar security commitments. Therefore, it is clear that in order for the Russia-Ukraine war to end and to prevent fears that new hostilities might break out again, especially on EU territory if Ukraine joins, it is necessary to think about a comprehensive solution to this problem and, most importantly, about real pressure on Russia, not just verbal threats, which the Kremlin pays absolutely no attention to. But the person who can actually be influenced by verbal threats is Viktor Orbán, especially if these threats are coming from the President of the United States. Therefore, let us hope that the Prime Minister of Hungary will indeed lift his veto on the negotiation process between Ukraine and Moldova and the European Union in the coming weeks, and that this process will take real shape, promising both countries genuine accession to Europe in the coming years or decades. Thank you, friends. Stay tuned to this channel, subscribe to it, follow me on social media, and check out my Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and Donatello channels, which help support and develop these resources, as well as the sponsorship feature right here on YouTube. Peace to you all.